It's a new day in America, folks, where you have someone like Joyanne Reid on MSNBC criticizing the Democratic Party. Hear, hear. Now, of course, this has to do with the Democratic leadership, in this case in the House, refusing to kind of step aside and allow for younger members of Congress to take the reins to serve in leadership roles.
Ana Kasparian OBLITERATES MSNBC Host in a fiery showdown that leaves viewers stunned. This explosive confrontation showcases Ana Kasparian going head-to-head with the MSNBC host, relentlessly demanding accountability and exposing the truth. The tension is palpable as Kasparian forces the host to confront their role in what she calls ruining the country. Viewers are captivated as the intensity of the exchange builds, with Ana delivering sharp, unyielding critiques that leave the MSNBC host visibly cornered. Her precision and determination dismantle every weak argument, leaving no escape for the host. Fans are hailing this as one of Ana's most commanding performances, calling it a defining moment of truth-telling in front of a live audience. As the confrontation goes viral, the internet is ablaze with reactions. Clips of Kasparian forcing the host to admit the damage caused are being shared across social media, igniting fiery debates about responsibility, accountability, and the broader cultural impacts at stake. This unforgettable clash is being celebrated as a masterclass in debate, with Ana Kasparian's unapologetic approach resonating with viewers across the political spectrum. Don't miss the must-watch moment where Ana Kasparian forces the MSNBC host to face the truth in a showdown that's become one of the most talked-about events online.
I think the party needs to concede, retire, enjoy the rest of your life.
What is about
and
this?
Let them be
this
leadership.
gerontocracy seems like it's intractable.
Why not have an AOC and a Jasmine Crockett who, quite frankly, are never scared?
Never.
Of
and
Donald
can
Trump or
communicate
Republicans.
with regular people about regular things. I mean, AOC and Jasmine Crockett are probably two of their best communicators.
We need messengers to make sure that people are paying attention to all these hearings on Capitol Hill, to communicate to voters. I don't agree with what Bernie Sanders said, that we've abandoned the working class people. No. We actually are the party of working class people.
It's a new day in America, folks, where you have someone like Joyanne Reid on MSNBC criticizing the Democratic Party. Hear, hear. Now, of course, this has to do with the Democratic leadership, in this case in the House, refusing to kind of step aside and allow for younger members of Congress to take the reins to serve in leadership roles. And to be more specific, this week we learned that while AOC, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was trying to win a leadership role in the House Oversight Committee, Nancy Pelosi was behind the scenes whipping up votes against her to ensure that a more moderate Democrat, Representative Jerry Connolly, who's 74 years old and is currently suffering from cancer, would be named the leader, Democratic leader of this committee instead. And so I'm real curious to get your thoughts, Waz, because for the most part, I mean, I agreed with what Joy Reid was saying, and I don't agree with her often these days.
I rarely agree with Joyanne Reid when it comes to what the Democrats are doing or what they should be doing and what's right and what's wrong. But I think it's obvious that everybody understands this gerontocracy situation is bad. It's bad for business. Like, this idea that you can be dynamic and reach a mass audience.
The Democratic Party faces significant criticism for its preference for older, established leaders like Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Connolly, which has sidelined younger, progressive voices such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This adherence to seniority and traditional protocols is seen as a barrier to introducing fresh ideas and effectively engaging with younger voters. Nancy Pelosi's deliberate efforts to block AOC's leadership ambitions in favor of more moderate, older candidates highlight a broader struggle for control within the party. This approach is viewed as prioritizing the preservation of entrenched power structures over the promotion of leaders and policies that resonate with the evolving priorities of Democratic voters, reflecting a leadership style that many see as disconnected from the needs of the party's future base.
You got to have more progressives in the caucus so that, these freaking corporate, moderate, centrist, whatever euphemism we want to call these Democrats, so that we can actually defeat them.
Such a great point, Waz, because so far, AOC has tried the approach of cozying up to people like Nancy Pelosi, calling her mama bear, complimenting her. She came in, she got voted into Congress to fight the Democratic establishment. And in the very beginning, she did. But she caved to them pretty quickly. And look, I can imagine how uncomfortable it is to find yourself in a workplace that's incredibly hostile toward you, but that's what you got voted in for. And so no one is going to hand her a leadership position, because right now, the standard operating procedure for the Democratic Party in Congress is we have protocols. Seniority is the number one priority. You have to pay your dues and you have to wait your turn. And understand that's all about their own sense of entitlement. It's not about what is best for constituents, what is best in terms of securing policy wins that Democrats purport to want to pass. It's all about this person's waited their turn. It reminds me of what happened with Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Right? All of the games that were being played during that Democratic primary, not to ensure that the best possible candidate was going to run against Donald Trump, but to ensure that someone who was really rising, skyrocketing in popularity at the time, of course, Senator Bernie Sanders, wouldn't have a chance, right? I remember all the little games that they played. It's just incredible because, of course, there were a lot of denials about those strategies to essentially prevent Sanders from winning the primary. But then during this past election cycle, all of a sudden you have Democratic lawmakers who came out and just totally admitted it on cable news.
Progressive leaders within the Democratic Party face significant hurdles in advancing their agenda and connecting with broader audiences. Our earlier strategy of attempting to align with establishment figures, such as calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, is widely criticized as ineffective and counterproductive to her original mandate to challenge the status quo. This approach has highlighted the need for progressives to adopt a more assertive stance in confronting entrenched leadership. Moreover, there is a growing demand for progressive leaders to leverage media platforms strategically, amplifying their messages and rallying public support to exert greater pressure on the establishment. The Democratic Party continues to face criticism for its inability to adapt and learn from past electoral defeats, most notably the 2016 loss to Donald Trump. Despite clear evidence that change is necessary to engage and mobilize voters, the party's leadership remains resistant, clinging to older candidates and outdated strategies. This unwillingness to evolve reflects a broader issue of complacency and disconnect from the shifting priorities of the electorate, undermining efforts to build a stronger and more effective political platform for the future.
Yeah, because it is. And dude, Pelosi needs to retire, but I think that Chris Hayes raises a super important question. Has the Democratic Party learned a damn thing from this past election? And I remember, before you answer, I remember having a conversation with Cenk behind the scenes in the lead up to the election, because I told him, I'm like, look, I know people are getting excited about some of this polling and stuff. I remember it was like after the Ann Seltzer thing came out, and I'm like,
the Iowa joint,
yeah, the Iowa poll. I'm like, no, I don't buy this poll at all. But in saying that, I was like, look, there's a possibility that if Democrats lose this election, it might wake them up and make them realize things need to change. It might force them into some self-reflection. It doesn't seem like that's happening, at least not with the leadership.
It's definitely not. I don't know if you saw in the New York Times I think it was yesterday, where the DNC chair, the black dude, is like, well, actually, we had some down ballot wins and all isn't lost. And it's like,
cope.
You can't be serious. But to what Chris Hayes was saying, who, by the way, I always thought Chris Hayes was one of the few good ones at MSNBC. He's got some he's got some progressive instincts. I've never minded Chris Hayes, and so I'm not surprised that he's bringing this up. But you show that picture of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, these people are so cooked. And what I love too about this is AOC, I think, is very illustrative of what's going on politically these days. I think these chart-wielding quants in the Democratic Party. They want to show you their chart and be like, well, actually, blah, 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 blah. And when AOC held the Q&A, when she was like, hey, why did you guys vote for me and Donald Trump? Basically what she got back is like, we believe you guys believe what you're saying. We think you're a genuine person. We may not agree with you on every single subject that you're passionate about, but we really believe these are things that you hold true and dear. And you're not some corporate shill, and we love you for that.
Progressive leaders are urged to harness media platforms more effectively to challenge establishment narratives and build stronger connections with voters. By amplifying their messages through targeted media strategies, they can counter the influence of entrenched power structures within the Democratic Party. The success of Republicans in leveraging conservative media as a megaphone for their messaging serves as a compelling model for progressives to emulate. Adopting similar tactics could enable them to reach wider audiences, energize their base, and create the momentum needed to drive meaningful political change. Democratic Party at a crossroads, struggling with internal conflicts, outdated practices, and a failure to connect with voters authentically, while progressives like AOC adopt more assertive strategies. What are your thoughts on this debate? Share your perspective in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss our latest videos. Thank you for watching and supporting our channel.